Welcome, everyone. Let's dive right in. So, the ideas we're discussing today really revolve around Naval's reflections on wealth and happiness. It's like Naval's whole philosophy on creating wealth and intentional living,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Right? So we're talking about not just hard work, but a very nuanced approach. Understanding how wealth is created, the role of specific knowledge, accountability, and that whole idea of actionable judgment.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because Naval breaks it down into the idea that making money isn't just about working hard. It's more about knowing what to work on and having unique leverage. It's like, you got to productize yourself, you know?
Absolutely. And it's not something that you learn in a classroom. It's that very personal combination of your upbringing, your innate talents, and your passions. So what do you make of that notion of specific knowledge?
Specific knowledge, right? It's knowledge that's not easily teachable. It sinks in naturally, almost like when you're absorbed in something that feels like play, but to others is hard work. For example, Naval mentioned things like selling skills, musical talents, or even that intuitive sense of negotiation you might learn by just growing up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in a way, it's saying that you're unique, you're the only you, and that uniqueness is the key to creating real wealth without having to just replicate someone else's path. But doesn't that also mean that if you despise wealth internally, it might just elude you?
Exactly. Naval argues if you secretly hold negative feelings towards wealth, it just kind of pushes it away. You're always operating from a mindset that conflicts with what you need.
Right on. And here's something I find really fascinating. He talks about building accountability, taking risks under your own name. It's not for the faint-hearted, because you basically put yourself out there.
Yeah, and that's where the risk-reward trade-off comes in. Think about it like it's like stepping off the ledge, but with a parachute you've built on your own. You assume responsibility for the failure and success alike.
It really forces you to be real with yourself. True. And then there's the idea of leverage. Not in a traditional sense, but through things like capital, labor, and even code or media. Naval really highlights that being able to produce something with no marginal cost can multiply your efforts exponentially.
Yes, it's like the transition from a fixed income mindset to one where your actions compound over time. The use of technology, that permissionless leverage, becomes a game changer. You know, it's almost as if small improvements in judgment or effort can lead to massive outcomes like a 1000x effect.
Exactly. It's fascinating, really. And then there's this entire section on judgment and decision making. Naval stresses that judgment is underrated. It's less about how many hours you put in and more about the direction of your actions. Like his emphasis on clear thinking. If you can explain something simply, then you actually understand it well.
Right, it's the whole Feynman technique, isn't it? Being able to break down complex problems into their fundamentals. Without that, you're just memorizing stuff instead of truly grasping how things work.
Yep, that's a really powerful concept. I think it also ties in with collecting mental models, doesn't it? Instead of relying on rote learning, you build up a toolbox of principles that you can apply to various problems.
Exactly. It's like instead of saying, I'll memorize every little detail, you're focusing on overarching frameworks from economics, game theory, and even complexity theory. And even if you stutter a bit along the line, think of it like this. It creates a more organic feel to solving real problems.
And speaking of organic, Naval's perspective on happiness really adds another layer. It's not just about accumulating wealth. It's about getting out of the cycle of chasing status and learning how to be happy through acceptance, presence, and even habits.
Right. So he distinguishes between wealth and money. Money is just a tool, a way to transfer time. But wealth is the actual assets that work for you, whether that's a business, investments, or even intellectual property. And then there's happiness as a learned art. It's like if you chase too many status games, you wind up not truly happy because you're
Exactly.
constantly comparing
It's a
yourself to
zero-sum
others.
game, unlike wealth, which is a positive-sum game. Yes, and that's where he also makes a point about long-term games. Relationships, skills, all these compound over time. It's about playing a long, deliberate game instead of, say, looking for a quick buck.
Absolutely. And isn't it just kind of revolutionary in our modern hustle culture? Instead of grinding ourselves down with busy work, Naval says,
Exactly.
save your
It
time,
really
let
challenges
your
the status
decisions
quo.
compound.
Now, something that I have to challenge a bit is his dismissal of traditional business networking. He says that if you're making something interesting, the right people will find you. But don't you think networking still has some value? Even if it's just about like building trust early on?
I'll say that while Naval makes a strong point, and I tend to agree with be a maker first, in some fields, a little bit of networking up front, if done sincerely, can open doors. But yeah, it's more about authenticity than just collecting business
I
cards.
see what you mean. It's about quality over quantity, isn't it? Exactly, yes. And on a related note, the idea of productizing yourself, that really resonates. It's sort of a shortcut to scaling your unique capabilities, but it requires a deep self-understanding, right? Knowing what you're naturally good at, then scaling that, whether through writing, coding, or even speaking.
Yes, and it seamlessly ties with the idea of building judgment and clear decision making. The more you understand yourself, your skills, your habits, the better you can be in control of your time. Plus, this is where Naval's notion of staying humble, shedding your identity a bit to really see reality, comes in.
Very true, very true. Speaking of shedding identity, it's striking how Naval suggests that clinging to fixed ideas can cloud our vision. Like, if you wrap yourself too tightly around a label, be it political or even professional, you might miss the evolving truths around you.
Exactly. It's about having the flexibility to reevaluate and adapt. It's like, I used to think this way, but now I see it differently. And that's necessary for genuine growth in both wealth and happiness.
Yeah, that openness is what really separates successful long-term thinkers from the rest. You know, another intriguing aspect is the notion of risk, about taking risks under your own name and being responsible for the outcome. This accountability, despite its fear factor, actually builds reputation and trust over time.
Definitely. It's like taking that leap of faith, and if you fall, well, you learn from that failure because you owned it. It's a self-amplifying cycle. The more risks you take in a smart and calculated way, the more you refine your judgment and specific
That's
knowledge.
the real engine of growth. And while the path isn't easy, Naval himself mentions that it can be really, really hard. The reward is not only wealth. It's more about freedom. Freedom from the hedonic treadmill of chasing money and status and true peace of mind.
Absolutely. Naval's perspective encourages us to be like patiently relentless. It's an iterative journey where every small win compounds both financially and personally. It's the compound interest of life.
Exactly. So elegant in its simplicity, yet profoundly impactful. And let's not forget his perspective on happiness, which isn't just a byproduct of wealth. It's a skill in itself, something you work on by choosing to be present, by accepting and maintaining peace over endless desires or envy.
Right. It's like once you understand that success doesn't automatically equal happiness, you can then intentionally shape your life around habits that foster joy instead of stress. Even when money solves material problems, inner peace is something you nurture separately.
Exactly. It's about being whole and well-rounded. And what's so great about his advice is its timeless quality. Whether you're in tech, real estate, or even a startup, these principles of building wealth through unique leverage and judgment, they apply broadly.
Yes, it makes me think about how adaptability and continuous learning are at the heart of success. falling back on our foundational skills, clear thinking, honest decision making, and being true to yourself. That's what
Absolutely. It's like the
really
North Star for
propels you
aspiring
forward.
entrepreneurs. So, would you say the ultimate message here is to combine visionary thinking with grounded action?
Definitely. It's about being both optimistic and realistic, harnessing the power of technology and leverage while remaining authentic, accountable, and constantly learning. As challenging as it is, and yeah, sometimes messy, that's the recipe for both, well, creating wealth and living a fulfilling life.
Right on, absolutely. I think it all boils down to this. If you want to truly be successful in every aspect, you have to embrace the process, the trial and error, the failures, and the small incremental wins that build up over time.
Exactly. And like Naval shows us, patience and persistence are key. It's not an overnight transformation. It's a long game of facing reality, shedding unhelpful identities, and crafting your own path.
Yep, that's the beauty of it. This conversation really reminds me that while the tools and theories might seem abstract, they're all ultimately practical. They compel us to act, to learn continuously, and to embrace both our strengths and shortcomings.
Exactly. And that's what makes the wisdom so timeless and universally applicable. Whether you're building wealth, developing judgment, or simply trying to enjoy life, it all starts with a clear idea of who you are, and sometimes who you aren't.
I'm to that. Wonderful chat today. It's been a real journey through Naval's philosophies, from embracing specific knowledge to understanding the true nature of wealth and happiness.
Absolutely. And hey, thanks for joining this spirited discussion. Stay curious, keep learning, and remember to play long-term games with long-term people, right?
Right you are.